you don't know that they're very skilled and incredibly controlled in what they do. So you may feel that you have to intervene and say, well, no, you can't do that. That's not allowed. Not allowed. Not allowed. Not allowed.
Hi, my name is James Gugama, and I'm the founder of Skate Cabal. And we are a multi-award winning social enterprise that's about empowering the community through roller skating. And we're all about inclusivity, well-being, and social change. And we use roller skating to like uplift the community.
I'm Roland Ramanan. I'm a photographer, and around the time of the lockdown, I was wandering around my local park, which is Victoria Park in East London, and I saw some roller skaters, and that's where the project kind of took hold to photograph skaters. Obviously, I knew they existed, but I'd never seen people dancing on roller skates, which is what I saw. They were kind of up in a corner of the park, dancing away, doing jam skating on roller skates. And I thought, wow, that is amazing. It would be great to photograph. So I knew someone locally who had kind of started in that little group up in that corner, and he kind of got me in. And I started talking to some of them, asking them about, how they got into it, what they were doing, and kind of started photographing them. And it wasn't until a year later, really, that I started skating myself. And mainly because the skaters were bullying me into it. They were saying, come on, Roland, you've got to do it. I said, no way I'm going to do that, because I'd never done anything like that. So never ice skated, never been on a skateboard, anything like that. So at age 56, I got my first skate, and that was absolutely terrifying, I have to say. But, now I'm really into it. I'm still skating. The scene in London has always been primarily a street skate scene. So even the development of the jam skating, the dance skating, a lot of that has happened in car parks and outdoor spaces. So a lot of people who dance on skates will still they'll do that mainly outside, in outdoor spaces, or kind of impromptu spaces. People will get together. Maybe they'll send a message on WhatsApp, and they'll gather somewhere and do something. So it's always been kind of ad hoc in that sense.
Skating is quite universal. It's not like fixed to one location. I feel like skaters move about. So like there's for our events, there's a lot of people that come from outside of London that come visit our events. And I feel as long as there's like a smooth space and like there's like a community of skaters, I think people are willing to sort of move around, and it's not limited to one fixed location. I feel the reason why people would go do roller skating is because it provides them that freedom, and like yeah, and to be creative as well. The reason why I started was when it was during like lockdown. A lot of people were facing a lot of mental health issues and social isolation. But roller skating was something that helped overcome those issues for many people. It's like roller skating like became like a lifeline, and like but the main thing that people were complaining about was the lack of spaces for skating, and people struggle to find spaces. They sometimes go to car parks and other sort of unsafe areas, and sometimes even going to public spaces, and like where they're mostly like sort of excluded. So I wanted to create a space where they felt safe and welcomed, and create an environment where they can meet other people who are passionate about the roller skating as well.
To begin with, absolute terror would probably be, the best way of describing it. And then, kind of bit by bit, you get a little bit more confident, and then, you can basically stop and do things. And then you quickly discover that you want to do more, you want to learn more. And then you start doing weird things like stretching in order that your feet can turn out more, or turn in more, or get to a certain angle, or do something that they weren't meant to do. And you become obsessed by it once you get into it.
I skated when I was young, but I skated with inlines. But then, like, but how I started to go in the community was in 2021. Yeah, so that it was just like during the lockdown pandemic period. Yeah, and so then I went to Olympic Park and with my cousin, and we didn't expect to see anyone, but we met other skaters, and they sort of welcomed us with open arms, and they invited us to different meetups, and that's like how I sort of got to know the community. I'll say my experience is I feel that it helps me with my own mental health, like and also like it's just a nice way to sort of like meet other people and connect as well. I feel like as soon as you put on your skates, you become part of a community.
Suddenly I see them everywhere, whereas before I didn't see them, and now I see people skating everywhere. Uh, I mean, since taking up skating myself, I can see more clearly what the skaters are doing. So before I was kind of photographing them from a distance, and it was, it was great. But now since I've started skating, I can appreciate more, what it is that they're doing, the incredible skill, that they have, when they're skating. And I notice the ground a lot more. I'm I'm always looking at the floor, thinking, is it wet? Is it smooth? Is it dry? So yeah, lots of things like that.
There's a lot of like people that street skate, and they might see it as like a playground, maybe like a place where they can explore different parts of like where they live. Maybe if, like for people, those that live in London, they can explore London more, and I don't know, just learn new things as they skate. My favorite space is on Olympic Park because it's quite local to me. It's just walking distance from my house, and they have like a smooth floor, and I think that's what we all, like want. It's just like a smooth floor and airspace. Yeah.
Skaters will go where they can, where they can find somewhere smooth. There are various supermarket car parks which are kind of accessible, or if the managers of the car parks are kind of fairly relaxed about skaters being there, that's been a kind of a driving force for people who want to practice the kind of fast backwards chop and shuffle skating. So they'll kind of find areas like that. But sometimes there can be conflicts. If you get a lot of young people kind of hanging out in a particular space, you can get trouble, you can get conflicts, and then it's closed down. The classic example of that is Stratford. So you have all those issues about space, the control of space, and kind of how it's used, and what the fallout of that is. So eventually the people who were in control of the shopping centre, decided it wasn't worth the trouble, and that they kind of banned skaters from going in there. But there are still skaters that go to Stratford Shopping Centre, so you'll still find them in the car park, and often getting chucked out. Or there's particularly the younger skaters. They're all like zooming around the Stratford Shopping Centre. So that's a kind of a main centre.
There's like a stigma. I think especially with the younger generation, I think there is like a perception that they are like doing antisocial behavior, but I think they just need support and also guidance as well, and also more like things being invested for them as well.
Obviously, it was the beginning of the pandemic. It was the beginning of lockdown, which caused a huge explosion in the skate scene. In the sense, a lot of people found skating as an activity they could do outdoors, and a lot of people who were dancers, for example, discovered skating because it was something that they could do outdoors. So, and the whole kind of skating in car park scene that had been going for a while, when I came in, and that was developing. I think one of the things I've kind of two things I've noticed is kind of the real development of street skating. So street skating has become even more popular. So there's a street skate that happens regularly on a Friday and a Sunday. And that's moved really from a sort of very small group of people to now quite a large group of people. So it's become really popular to for people to develop their street skating confidence and skills. So that's kind of expanded.
At first it was just an idea, then it just became sort of like a movement, and it was just like working with like the local council, Mayor of London, and a range of other like charities to sort of provide like safe spaces and also tackle other like social issues. And I think it was last year in 2024 where there was the general election, and we used like roller skating, like our roller skating events to sort of educate our community on the importance to like vote. So like for us, it's like roller skating it could be a tool to sort of engage the community as well.
Street skating is, such a big facet of the London scene, and I think it's very particular to London. Even amongst international skaters, the high degree of skill and development of street skating in London. So I think they are kind of hyper aware of the people around them, the kind of the traffic, the people, kind of how they're moving, what they're about to do. So I think that's something that they kind of notice a lot more. But people who love to street skate appreciate the city in a different way to other people. They're able to skate through the city at night perhaps, or go places that they wouldn't otherwise do, through all sorts of areas of London. So yeah, they appreciate the people and the city in a different way. I think all skaters would say they want a space.
People were complaining about the lack of spaces.
The story of roller skating in London is also partly a story of black expression, but it's also a story about the demand for urban space. Who gets to have urban space for different activities, and who gets access to space.
And I see a lot of them, they roller skate with their friendship groups, and like maybe after school or like in the weekend, they go to whether a park, or they like organize like a little street skate, and it just provides them something to do instead of something that's quite like negative. Yeah, it provides them an opportunity to like have like I think they're looking for something to belong.
So I think all skaters would say, just as there are lots of spaces available for skateboarding, why isn't there a dedicated space for roller skating? It's a really wholesome, beneficial activity. So to have a covered outdoor space, would be fantastic.
Roller skating is more than just a sport. It's a passion. It's creativity. It's happiness, and it's people's like lifeline. Yeah. Yeah.